Alright, so the next steps to the magazine are to start working on the two-page spread in the center. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my window or my view and I'm going to show guides. That's going to show you how many columns that I have. And I'm also going to go view, show, frame edges. That's going to show you where my text frames are. So both of those should be all set. Now we're going to be down here on this two-page spread. You can always zoom in and out if you want to get closer or further away. I'm just going to make sure that I have it close enough to where I can really work on just those 2 pages at once. I'm going to hide some of these things here. Now I have it set to 2 columns and I might want to change it to 3 columns. So if you want to change it, make sure you've clicked on the page. You can tell I'm highlighted on my spread now. And I'm going to go up to Layout, Margins and Columns, and this is where I can adjust my columns. I'm going to go to 3 columns, and it'll show me that because I did preview. I think 3 columns will be much more space for me to work on my 3 articles about Madrid, Barcelona, and Sevilla. So since I have 3 articles in here, I'm going to be thinking about my layout. Hopefully you sketched your plan beforehand, and there are plenty of magazines in the room to look at for examples. But I'm going to take, let's see, I'm just going to take a square, and I want a portion of my magazine layout to be a color. So I'm actually just going to cover 2 columns, and I'm going to choose a color from my options here. Maybe I'll go with that purplish pink. Now I kind of want to make this an interesting shape, so I'm going to get my white arrow and I'm going to stretch some points around here. So I'm going to pull this one over. This is just like Illustrator. Remember, your white arrow moves individual points. I'm just going to make kind of a angled space over here just to make it a little more interesting. And I might make one more sort of angled space over here. Now you don't want to get too flashy, but sometimes it's fun to have some variety. Let's see, I'll do this one a dark blue, and I'm actually going to make that one transparent so that I can see through it. Okay, so I'm going to leave that one how it is. I can always go back and change it later, but those 2 items are definitely all set. I do want to take off the black stroke though. I don't want to have too much detail, so I'm going to take off the black stroke on both of those shapes. Now when I click away, you can see what I have here. Okay, so we're going to start putting in our titles of the articles first. And I have Madrid, Barcelona, Sevilla, and I also have a special flamenco dancing feature. So I'm going to try to figure out how I can place all those. Before I even start, I'm going to start with my T tool. I'm just going to make a little text box off to the side. I'm going to type in my cities, Barcelona. I'm going to start with just one, and I'm going to set the font to what I want. And I think I'm going to go back up to that same one as I did the title of the magazine. And I want my font, or my article titles, to be quite large, actually. I'm going to go up above maybe about 24 point font. And I'm going to make my box just a little bit smaller, my text box. And since I've got this typed all how I want it, I'm going to go ahead and do all of my titles. So I'm going to hit Option Drag, just like in Illustrator, and I'm going to get all 3 of those ready to go. So now I've got Madrid and Sevilla. Now this type style in particular does not have capitals, which is kind of cool because it's a little bit modern and funky. And I'm going to place these where I think I want my articles to go. I put one there, put one here, and maybe Sevilla will be down here. So just kind of placing them, and again, we can move things around as we're working on the layout. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to fill in some placeholder text. Now remember, when we had longer trimesters, we actually wrote these articles. Now what we're doing is we're just going to fill it in with what's called lorem ipsum. It's not a real font, or they're not real words. It just shows you where your words would be if you had words. So to do that, I get my T tool, and I'm just going to make, actually I'm just going to make a huge square kind of over the space. And notice I've got a blinking cursor. I've covered 2 columns. I could cover my whole page if I wanted to, but I just did 2 columns. And now I'm going to go type, fill with placeholder text. And now I've got some type in here. Now remember, the standard size of type for a magazine body copy is 12 point. It looks really small right now, but if we printed this, it would be pretty legible, just like an English paper or something. So that's a pretty normal type size. So now I can kind of squeeze this in, and I want to cover 1 column with it. And notice when you squeeze it in, I'm going to zoom in a bit here so we can see better. When you squeeze it in, it created a little red box with a plus sign in it. That means, hey, you've got more text. You need to put it somewhere else. So if I get my black arrow, I can just click on that point, and all this text follows me, and I can just click and drag where I want the rest to go. Now notice I still have more text, so I can stretch this column out, and I still have more text. So click again. I'm going to see if I can get this to fit right in this section. Perfect. So I even have some room to spare. I can kind of squish that back up. Now again, you can try to read this, but that's not really what it's for. It's just to kind of place your text. So we have an article about Barcelona here, and I'd like to put a picture right in the center, and I want it to be a circle-shaped picture. So I'm going to get my frame tool here. I'm going to start with my ellipse frame, which basically means a circle. I'm going to hold my shift key to make a perfect circle, and I want to put circle right in the center. Now I'm going to go File, Place. Now I still have that Spain folder full of pictures I can use, and there's one in here of a Gaudi architectural building, this one right here. And this is actually in Barcelona, so I want to place it. So I'm going to hit open. Now notice it doesn't really center the way you want it to, and this frustrates people a lot. So what you're going to do when you get to this step is go Object, Fitting, and I actually go all the way down to Frame Fitting Options just to get this box to pop up here. And I like to put it on Preview. And there are a couple things that we need to fix. We're just going to make the reference point in the center, and I want it to fit perfectly in that circle. So I just click on Fill Frame Proportionally. And now I've got my picture how I want it, and I can hit OK. Now remember, if you make the picture bigger or smaller in InDesign, hold down Command and Shift together. So you can make it really big, but then I'm running out of room for my text, so I'm going to keep it smaller. Now I've put this right on top of my letters, so I can't read what's behind them. So we're going to do what's called a text wrap. The text wrap includes the font and the picture, so I'm going to get my shift key and click on my columns. So all these things are selected. And now I just go I go Window, and I'm going to bring up a palette. So I'm going to go Window, Text Wrap. Now text wrap has all these little icons, and this one right here looks very similar to what we're doing here. So I'm just going to click that, and notice when you click away and click back, no matter where I put that little circle, my words will wrap around it. It's a pretty cool feature. Now the only bummer is I now have more text than I need to fit. So I'm going to click this area and see if I can squeeze the text in. Looks like I still need more space. I'm going to move Madrid down. See if I can really get that space that I took up by adding a circle picture here. Great, so there we go. So let's say my Barcelona article is all set, and now I want to start putting in some text for Madrid. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my T tool, and I'm just going to click and drag a nice big square, and I'm going to go Type, Fill with placeholder text again. So that's not really where I want anything, but I like to just kind of fill it in and kind of show you how you can move it around. I've got the little red box, so don't leave any of those. Make sure you click, pull the rest of the text over here, and I still have some more, so I'm going to scoot this down, pull this down, kind of make it fit. Another option is you can just delete some text. So oftentimes when you're editing a paper, you realize, hey, that whole paragraph wasn't necessary. Maybe I'll just make my article shorter so things can fit a little better in my space. Okay, so I need a picture for this one too, and I'm in kind of an awkward space here, but I'm going to do a circle again, just for a reminder. Shift drag. This one I think I'll place kind of half and half on the Madrid and Barcelona article. And I'm going to go File, Place, and choose something else that would be a nice fit. I've already used that and that. How about this guy? And I'll hit Open. Again, it doesn't really look like much until you go to Object, Fitting, Frame Fitting Options. And this is where I like to take a moment to center it and fit it proportionally. And hit OK. Now I still have one more step. My words are behind it, so I'm going to get my Shift key out, click on my columns that hug next to it, and click on Text Wrap. Again, if I decide to move that picture, maybe I want it off of this purple, so the purple bar is kind of separate. It will go all the way around it. Okay? So now I'm still kind of running out of space here, so I can delete some text and fit things a little better. Okay, now as an editor, you would really make sure all these are really tight connections here. You'd never want empty space like that, or things that stop one word, like this little word would probably be hard to read. So all of that, as you get better with design, you can figure those things out. Okay, so we're going to work on our Sevilla, and we're going to do something a little different with this. So first thing I'll do is make my text box. Just going to throw a big text box in here with my article. Type, fill with placeholder text. And let's scooch this around, make some columns. Put that back in here, pull it up. Click on it with the black arrow. Add a nice little chunk here. Pull this down. Okay, so now I'm going to make another picture, but this time I'm going to use a square. So I'll start with my, again, make sure you use the frame tool with the X through it. Put a square right here. And I'm going to go to File, Place, and choose something that look nice in the square here. How about this guy? Okay, and again, go to Object, Fitting, Options. I like to center it. You don't have to, but I think it makes the most sense. And hit OK. Now again, if I wanted to adjust my size in this situation, Command and Shift together is the way you would do it. Holding down my Shift, I click this column, and Text Wrap again. Now I could also do the square text wrap. Basically that one gives you a little bit less space. I kind of like this one, so it just gives a little bit more freed up space in there. Okay, so we've got the basics of the text wrap down. Now I wanted to add a little featured article about flamenco dancing. So what I might do is I think I might even grab this picture up here and pull it down and put this kind of in the corner here. I think I want to flip it, so I need to, how do I flip it? Transform, flip, horizontal, because I want her facing that way. Now, I'm going to add some more text here. I need one more title, but I'm going to do something a little different with it. I'll copy this one, but I'll say flamenco. And this article is going to kind of be off in the corner a bit, just down here. And I still need to add a map and some other things, so I've got some room to work with. So I'm going to put my flamenco article down here. Type, fill with placeholder text. Now the nice thing is I can even text wrap around a shape. So if I hit Shift click on her, and then do this, it goes right around her arm. That's kind of a fun feature that you can work with. Okay, so the last thing I need to do is add a map, and I did collect one. I might just use basic frame for that, and then go to file place, choose the map that I collected. I think it's here somewhere, map of Spain. There we go. And last thing, lots of repetition here, object fitting, options, center, proportionally. Okay, so I'm kind of getting started there. This is a nice first step just to add your text. The next tutorial is going to be adding details and special features.